And welcome everyone to our final episode of Calm Under Pressure. That does not mean you do not need to stay calm under pressure after this session. Quite contrary, hopefully we have helped you stay calm and learn some tools and given you some helpful methodologies and practices to change your mindset and look at things differently and hopefully engage others more effectively, as well as your own mental health. I'm John Troutman. I'm the Vice President of Business Development here, and I'm excited about Calm Under Pressure. Adding value to our clients, prospects, and friends, quite frankly, is something that we're all passionate about here at Mind Club America. And I'm not going to take a lot of time here today, but just want to remind you all, if you don't know much about us here at Mind Club America, maybe you're wondering how we improve mental health in groups around the country, please reach out to me or any one of us here at Mind Club. Following this event, we'll be glad to dive into the weeds. But we are truly a one-stop shop, and it is a no employer cost solution. Today, we are very fortunate to have the lovely Gail and the handsome Paul with us again today to wrap up our summary session on Calm Under Pressure. Take it from here, guys.
Thank you, John. Thank you, everybody. Great to see you. So what we're going to do today is just really look at what we've been doing for the past 7 weeks and what are why is Calm Under Pressure as a program so powerful? So I want us to go into it, and I'm going to start us off as I like to do by creating space between our busy lives outside of this time together and our time together. As we shift gears, let's leave behind the noise of the day and be fully present here. Put your feet on the floor, feel the firmness underneath you. Maybe rest your hands on your lap, on a desk, on the arms of a chair. Take a slow, deep breath in and let it go. Picture this nice, calm lake, the beautiful setting sun. You're just sitting there unwinding from the day, still and steady and strong. And we can use our breath to settle our body down. So I'm going to ask you to breathe in for 4 and hold it for 7 counts and then exhale for 8. So just follow my voice. Breathe in for the count of 4, 2, 3, 4, and hold for 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Slow exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. As you do your breathing, feel your shoulders lower. Maybe check in with your jaw and feel it soften. Let your hands relax. If you notice any tightness in your body, just let it relax out. Now bring to mind one thought or feeling from today that's been pulling at you. Maybe it's about performance, uncertainty about a client, worry about some change. And we're going to take a minute to check it, catch it, check it, and change it. So first, I want you to notice the thought and name it. I'm worried about, or I'm tense because. And now you're going to check by asking yourself, is this thought helping me to be more effective, or is it draining my focus with worry? And then you're going to change it if it's not helpful. And for some people, it's actually imagining that thought, you're putting it down beside you, beside this lake, and you're going to watch it drift away. You don't need it anymore. As it moves away, breathe in calm, breathe out the tension, and acknowledge that you're a little bit lighter. I feel lighter. I'm actually going to be doing a little stretching here. Now, when you're ready, come back to the room. Remember the calmness of the pond and the setting sun, and join me as we talk about calm under pressure. We have been working over the last 7 sessions to understand that stress is predictable. It's going to come. It's not going to go away. Our world is changing faster. We're confronted by higher expectations. There's more competition. We cannot make stress, the events that cause stress go away. But what we can do is train ourselves to respond in a different way. And responding in a different way is what allows us to remain calm, effective, and engaged. So, in Calm Under Pressure, we've spent 7 weeks exploring different sources of stress and powerful skills that we can use to access calm and change our experience of these stressful events. And today is about pulling it all together and thinking about our own go-to response plan. I just want to remind everybody that in 2026, we will be offering this program again, along with other workshops on additional topics, additional skills, opportunities to work on these tools to make them really your own and build your muscle for remaining calm under pressure. So if you found this helpful for you, a little plug, please share this program with others. First thing I'm going to say is that we all want to be calm, but there's nothing wrong with being stressed. Everybody feels it. What we want to do in order to get to calm is let go of things like judgment, like, oh, I'm a mess. I can't do this. I just got to power through this. And focus instead on building the skills that regulate our body and our mind and our environment. Because when we regulate ourselves and we create some boundaries around what we take on and when, we transform our daily life. And the mastery for us comes from knowing which ones work for us. I'll tell you for myself of everything that I'm studying and learning and practicing, they don't all work for me. But I'm getting down to a small group of skills that I can pull on in different situations that allow me to remain calm throughout the event or the situation. I'm going to tell you this funny story because it applies directly to what I'm talking about here. So I went out, and as we women do, we do face creams, right? We're all about, okay, what do I do to keep my skin soft and young? So you go out and there's a million products out there that are going to be anti-aging, and they're going to make you, if you're 50, they're going to make you 20 again. Okay. So I bought a bunch of these products and I brought them home all set, and the sales lady went through the 7-step process that I have to go to use these products to achieve this anti-aging beautiful renewal. And about a couple of weeks later, one of my kids comes to me and asks me how the creams are working, and I said, well, actually I haven't tried any of them yet. And my child said, well, why not? And I said, well, I'm busy and I'm not used to it. There's a 7-step routine and I don't quite remember what all the steps are and what order I'm supposed to do them in. And so when I get some free time and, when everything's calmed down, then I'm going to, go and I'm going to lay out the products and I'm going to use them all. And my child just looked at me and said, well, they're not going to help you if they just sit in the jar, right? And it's the same thing with what we're doing here. You need to use these skills that we talk about. We need to practice using them so we know which ones work in which situations. And that's what's going to get us to being, well, if not 20 again, at least a lot calmer. I can't emphasize enough, the event is not what necessarily causes us stress. Now, if I was confronted by this lion, I would be stressed and I'd be like running. But what if it wasn't a lion? What if it was really a kitten? I wouldn't be stressed if I was confronted by a kitten, right? It's my view of the event, whether I view it as a lion or as a kitten, that is going to cause me to be stressed or calm. And the reality is, we haven't been taught this. We don't grow up learning that, hey, I can look at something and I can either see it as a lion or I can find ways to view it as a kitten. And that's going to change how I respond to it and what happens next. And that's why Calm Under Pressure has come into being, because having learned that I can turn my lion into a kitten, I'm now going to help everybody. Mind Club America wants to help everybody see their world as if they're surrounded by kittens. All right, maybe that's a little silly, but you get what I mean. How do I turn that lion into that kitten? Well, that's what we've been focusing on in Calm Under Pressure. The first part of it is that when we see a lion, we're shoved into reaction mode. I see a lion, I'm going to turn and run. And instead, what Calm Under Pressure is going to do is give us the tools to turn that into a response. And there are three pillars to what we've been learning. The first is awareness. We become aware of what we're looking. Oh, we're seeing this as a lion. What is happening to our body as a result of that? What is the first thought that comes into our head? What's the emotion that we have? Where are we holding that fear in our body? The second is access to customized skills. And those are the skills that I use to calm myself down when I become aware of the stress reaction. And the third piece of calm under pressure is adopting that transformational mindset that I can go and respond instead of reacting. I can view this as a kitten rather than a lion. So over the last 7 weeks, we learned a number of things, shifts. We learned that, as I've been talking about, stress comes from our perception of the event, not the event itself. That we hold it in our body and our mind. And so tools that we have that are also going to not only reframe our mindset, but are also going to release that stress out of our body are going to help us get to a more effective, calmer place. And we're going to do this through the awareness of our triggers. The event happens. Sometimes I'm going to refer to it as a trigger, right? We looked at that. The event happens, the lion appears, right? The client call comes in, they want to change the contract, the issue props up, the event happens, and what we're going to do is we're going to pause. It's what we've been learning. And then while we pause, we're going to use our tools to regulate ourselves, right? To work on our body and how it's responding to the stress, our mind and how it's responding, our environment maybe and how it's responding. And then we're going to be able to reflect. Remember, I think we talked about earlier using the example of, if you see the lion in front of you in the path, the only thought you're going to have is, I'm going to run away. And you turn and run. And maybe that's not the best thing to do with the lion because turning and running might mean that he chases you. And maybe there's another option. Maybe you could crawl into a hole or climb a tree or hide behind something. Or maybe you've got a friend you could push out in front of you so that, the lion goes after him instead of you. There might be other options. I'm sorry, I didn't really mean that. But, it's the old joke. If a bear's chasing you, how fast do you need to run? Just faster than the guy next to you, right? Okay. So when we regulate, we actually can reflect, and instead of just turning and running, we can say, hey, wait, there's multiple things we could do, and we can choose our response. And that's why it's so powerful to use the pause time to break our cycle of, I see a lion, I'm going to run. The key ideas that we've been talking about over the last 7 weeks are what I've just referred to. There's more than one path ahead of us. And when we're under pressure and when we're stressed, we typically grab the first path that comes to mind. But there really are multiple paths. And I've learned this in some really, really powerful high stress situations. There's more than one path. And what we need to do is be in a place where we can see it. We can learn to control our mindset, our emotions, and our physical responses. That's what the Navy SEALs spend and the Marines spend so much time training, right? They are learning to control their mindset, emotions, and physical responses in high stress situations. The other thing that we have talked about and want to keep reminding ourselves is a thought is not a fact. Because I think it's a lion doesn't mean it is. The other really important concept that we've talked about in these past 7 weeks is this idea that we cannot control other people's or events. And I cannot express enough how often we fall into the trap of trying to change somebody else's behavior. I'm going to make them do something differently. I'm going to tell them not to do it. We can't, at the end of the day, maybe we'll be successful occasionally, but most of the time we can't control other people and we can't control events that happen around us. And so the energy we spend trying to control those things is wasted energy. Far better to focus on ourselves and the things we can control. And the last piece of what we looked at is that knowing our boundaries can play a really powerful role in stress management. We looked at some examples where we're being flooded by work coming in from other people, and those of us who are people pleasers, I'm kind of one of them, will go, oh yes, I can do that. I can help you with that. I can help you with that. I can help you with that. And we find ourselves overloaded. We've created our own stressful environment. We can think about boundaries and limits as a way to prevent that overwhelm. Very important component to remaining calm under pressure. So what I want to do is take a look at what we have, the kinds of stressors that we've been looking at over the past 7 weeks. And for those of you who've been here before, I want you to look at this list because we covered each week was a different topic. And I'd love it if you would think about if there are other stressors that we didn't cover in these 7 weeks. Because if there are other stressors, these are things that Paul and I would love to build into what we're going to do in the new year. But the stressors that we have looked at and we'll come back to, will take us, there's multiple ways to look at them and multiple ways to manage how we handle them, is we looked at industry shifts, things like changing client needs, changing technology. Anybody here not thinking about how AI impacts their clients and their industry and their jobs, right? And then changing skills. What kind of new skills might be out there and be demand? Because there's a lot of stress. We looked at competing priorities. When you've got too much, everybody's got, it's got to be done now. It's got to be done now. The whole project's got to be done. I need help. I need help. And the competing priorities expand across not only our work life, but many of us have home lives and relatives, aging parents potentially, struggling children, a sick relative, right? They're competing priorities that we have to manage. We looked at market volatility. How's the market shifting? What are the changing financial or regulatory demands that we have to manage? We looked at energy management. What can we do? What drains our energy? How do we recognize somebody whose energy is drained, they're approaching burnout in ourself or in somebody else? We looked at high stakes communications, right? Pause, paraphrase, summarize. How do we communicate something that's really important in a calm way? We looked at boundaries and limits, and how do we use them to protect our energy? And how does a lack of boundaries and limits drain us? And then last week, we looked at the holidays. I did a talk for families with family members who have substance use or mental health issues. I did a talk on Wednesday night about the holidays, and the my first lesson for them is that by definition, the holidays are going to raise the stress level because the holidays are filled with lots of unpredictable events that we don't do in our daily routines. There's a relative who needs additional emotional support. There's a parent who needs to be transported. There's a presents that need to be purchased or wrapped, or there's a child that needs to be taken to an extra set of activities, right? So the holidays, without even trying, are a source of stress. And if we know that, we can plan for it. Okay, we'll go on to the next, which is the tools. Over the last 7 weeks, we have looked at a lot of different tools that we can use to deal with, to manage different kinds of stressors. We've looked at scanning our bodies, orienting ourselves, micro resets, different kinds of breathing patterns, box breathing, and 4-7-8. We did the 4-7-8 pattern in the little break I gave us between our lives in this seminar. Those are two different breathing patterns. And for those of you who don't remember, one of them is to help you kind of in the moment, and the other one is a longer term regulatory approach. And there are other patterns that allow us to do different things. We talked about pause and shift, right? Catch it, check it, change it as a tool. We looked at a way to actually prioritize work and keep our focus on what's important as opposed to what's urgent, the three-box focus method. We looked at the idea of want, willing, and won't, what we're able to do, the 60% rule, and the boundary sandwich as a communications technique. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like you to look at these. This is not an exhaustive list. There may be some other tools that Paul and I went through that you've grabbed onto from previous weeks. And as I said, what we're doing is introducing you to tools, introducing you to pressure situations and some of the best tools to use in those situations. And where we want to help you get to is where you have your own go-to things that you can do so that you're looking at kittens or sheep, as somebody put in the chat, and not lions. If you don't have any questions, what I'm going to ask you to do is, based on what you said were the pressures that you're dealing with, the stressors, pick 2 or 3 skills that you think you want or that you already have as your go-to skills.
If you don't mind, I'd love to kind of jump in here. And I was in the process of typing it out, but one thing that I noticed, like an overarching theme with this list, is there's quite a few things that the essence is creating separation from whatever the precipitating event is and allowing the biological nervous system to kind of reset. And so a lot of these skills are really effective at that. Um, and that is something that is evidence-based and empirically sound to be effective in reducing stress and being a little bit more calm and confident. And it's just one of the things when we look at it in its totality, like the list of 9 that we have here, a lot of them allow us to not only create separation, allow the body to biologically kind of reset, but then also there's quite a few tools here that helps us reframe some thoughts and approaches. Very much like you're talking about, seeing a kitten versus seeing a lion, which obviously has a compound effect.
Thank you for pulling that together. And some things work for us and some things don't. Some are easier for us to understand, some are easier for us to do, and some are more powerful than others. I had to learn this for myself because I've had various coaches and teachers, and one of them was really insistent on a particular stress management technique. And he kept trying and trying and trying to get me to do it. And I finally said to him, I just doesn't work for me. I'm just not going to use. He's like, it's so powerful. I said, I don't care that it's so powerful. It doesn't work for me. These other tools get me where I need to be. I don't have to have this one. So that's why it's really important for Paul and I that we help you pick the ones that work for you. We now have our stressors. You have some tools that you're going to use, can use. And the next piece we have to think about is what challenges are there to using these tools? Sometimes it's like, well, it's like the creams, right? My example early on of the 7-step facial routine that I bought, and it sat in my bathroom for weeks because I couldn't quite remember the 7 steps. I thought it was going to take too long, so I had a time issue and I had a comprehension issue that kept me from doing this routine. So the challenges I'm asking you for are, do you see any roadblocks to using these tools that you've identified with the stressors that you've identified that are top of mind? But if you see any roadblocks, I don't quite understand it. I don't think I have enough time. I've tried it and it wasn't too effective. Maybe I didn't do it right. I can't remember exactly what it's supposed to be. None of these work for me. There must be something else. Those are all roadblocks to being successful. And recognize that there may be roadblocks because then you can plan to solve them, right? My skincare routine, I don't have enough time. Well, when I went back to the salesperson, she said, well, you could actually cut it down to 5 and it'll take you about 3 minutes. Can you find 3 minutes to do the skincare routine? I was like, oh, yeah, I can find 3 minutes. She overcame the roadblock for me. All right. So take your stressors, try your tools, make a commitment to practice. because it does take practice. And check in with yourself. Am I using my plan? And the first thing to help you want to practice is I want you to visualize the desired outcome. So look at the stressor. What would you like it to be like? It's not a lion, it's a kitten. What does that kitten look like for you? If I practice, I'm going to get there, right? That's my motivation to do the practice. I want to turn that lion into a kitten. So next year, we're going to roll out additional workshops. You guys gave us a couple of good topics. I'm also going to do one on caregiving. I know is a topic that we're going to do next year. Greater depth on the tools and skills. I'd like you to make a commitment. I'd love it if you'd keep attending next year as we roll out new topics and skills. Try to set aside time to practice. The breathing is a great one when we need to practice. I was just up in New York City. I could practice it when I was traveling somewhere on the subway, on a bus, walking down the street. Lots of opportunities you can find to practice. See how it felt, how to check in with yourself on how it felt for you. Because mastery comes from repetition, not perfection. And I want to thank you all for giving us your time and attention. I know this is a really crazy, busy time of the year. Thank you for joining and making a commitment to yourselves to be better at mastering your stress. If this program is helpful to you, if the skills are helpful to you, if Paul and I can be helpful to you, please invite someone else. And with that, I am going to hand it over to John.
Thank you, Gail. And also thank you, Paul. I know it's been a lot of time and effort, energy, and focus to do this. And I want to say a special thanks to all those of you who are watching now or watching the recording of this on YouTube. Which is a great reminder for everyone watching this live. We do have our own YouTube channel. If you missed any of these sessions, you'd like to go back and watch them, be refreshed of any of these topics, or just see them for the first time, please go to our YouTube channel at Mind Club America and also share them with your employer groups. We want to make a difference. We are built for getting results, not just revenue, and we want to help your groups with their mental health. As always, if you have any questions whatsoever about Mind Club America, how we could help your groups throughout the year, please reach out to any one of us. We'll be glad to help you as best we can. Holidays are a wonderful time of the year, but they are not a wonderful time of the year for everyone. So let's all be more sensitive to those around us for those mental health challenges they may have and do whatever we can to support them because your mental health matters. So on behalf of everyone here at Mind Club America, thank you for joining us for Calm Under Pressure. Have a wonderful, happy holidays and a best year to come in 2026. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.